Hey, what's up guys and gals? Danny Lightning back. We are checking out the new VEA or VEA software from iZotope. This is about a $35 plugin, so it's affordable, and this is for podcasters. It can do all kinds of weird and interesting stuff, but it's mainly designed to give you a really quick sound, add some compression, some EQ, clean up the background noise, and get rid of unwanted sounds quick and easily. Now, one thing it can do that I really don't recommend is it works with the iZotope Auto Lens, where you can kind of like record part of a Joe Rogan podcast. It'll take the Joe Rogan sound, it'll take his EQ, and it'll just try to give you the same sound as Joe Rogan. But the problem is he's got different room acoustics. He has a different voice. I never recommend taking somebody else's EQ settings and just using them, because that might give you some really bad results. You don't have the same room acoustics as Joe Rogan. You don't have the same voice as Joe Rogan, so why would you want to use Joe Rogan's EQ settings, right? That doesn't make sense to me, but you can do that if you want to. We're not going to get into that. We're just going to go ahead and test the basics of how this works. So let's pull up an audio clip and see what this bad boy can do. It's currently listening to the audio right now. So it's listening to how I'm talking. It's listening to my background noise, and it's trying to get rid of any bad sounds. It will get rid of some mouth noises, some keyboard clicks, pretty much anything that's not wanted. But if you crank this up too high, the sound cleaning thing will wreck your audio quality. The next thing is basically some EQ, and if you crank it up all the way, it gets really harsh and really high pitched, so don't overdo it on this EQ. And then the third part we have is basically like a dynamic section that's going to give you some what do you call that thing? Oh my god, compression. It's going to give you some compression, some EQ, and it's going to clean up your background noise. And it's supposed to be for people who are speaking into a microphone and people who are doing things like podcasts. Now, there is a little drop down menu that gives you some other EQ options, so in a minute we'll drop those down and click through them all so you can hear what the different EQ settings sound like when we're adjusting the EQ knob. It's a pretty interesting deal, but back to the video. There's some things I like about it, there's some things I don't like about it, but just make sure you don't overdo it, because it will wreck your audio really bad if you crank these dials up too much. So only crank them up as high as you need to. Now, honestly, I don't know if you're liking the way this sounds or not. I hear a few issues with it. For example, the high end can get very, very harsh and very fatiguing sounding. You don't want to crank the high end too much, or it's gonna grind on people's nerves. You don't want too much high end, so you got to be really careful with cranking up that EQ knob. Let's go ahead and play with that drop down menu, and you'll notice when we hit the public radio setting, that one probably sounds the best, at least to my ears. Only crank that knob up a little bit if you're going to use it. Before you make a decision, you should probably listen to your mix on several different sets of headphones and different speakers and make sure it sounds good on all of them. For example, I can really crank that knob up and these headphones roll off the high end and it sounds good. But when I get my earbuds, I'm like, ooh, that's a little harsh and a little high pitched. So, you know, it's good to have several different things to listen on before you finalize your mix. But anyways, we've probably been playing around with this long enough. Let me know how you guys think this sounds. Alright, so right now I am going to go ahead and kick in my favorite EQ, my favorite noise suppression, my favorite compressor, and I'm going to go ahead and set the audio up the way I want it to sound. And let me know if you think this sounds better or that sounds better. What do you like better, my current processing or what you just heard a minute ago when we were playing with the thingy-dingy? Because it's kind of like, hey, it's going to give you what it gives you. You can't really set it up the way you want like you can with your own plugins. So that's the one thing I don't like about it, is you have no real control over anything. You just have a knob, and as you turn the knob, it gives you what it gives you with no actual control. So when you're using your own plugins, like you're using some Waves plugins or some FabFilter plugins or even some of the other iZotope plugins, you have more control over what's going on with the sound compared to something like this. I think this is really designed for beginners who just want to kind of get a quick podcast type sound quickly, but don't really want to put in the work or buy a bunch of expensive plugins. So, you know, if you like the way it sounds, then it might be something for you. It's only $35. That's not horrible. But personally, I think I would rather just run some of my own plugins like some Waves or some FabFilter, or maybe some of the iZotope plugins by themselves compared to running the VEA or the VEA or whatever it costs. But anyways, this is the way my processing sounds. And I think we're going to go ahead and wrap the video up. I think that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you drop down the video's description, you'll see my YouTube channels, my Discord server, ways to help support the channel, some useful information and all kinds of stuff like that. Thanks for watching. You guys are amazing. Lighting out. See ya.